Hey adventurers! Today we're going to be doing a starting point recommendation video for classics specifically. So our goal with the books we chose is to find a book that would span a larger audience, something that almost anyone would really like as an entrance into reading more classics. Tony and I initially intended to do this video with the same books in mind, and we realized that we haven't read a lot of the same classics. They've just been opposite spectrums because we did school at different levels, and a lot of these we read for school. So that's why we're here with two separate stacks of books to recommend for you all.
The only other thing is that we wanted to find classics that are kind of easier to read so that it would be more likely for somebody to want to get into them.
Right, so these aren't even our recommendations of our absolute favorite stories, they're just some of the ones we enjoyed reading, the actual reading of the most. So, jumping right in, the first classic that actually I chose this time is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Not necessarily the whole Lord of the Rings series or book, we'll call it whatever you want. But The Hobbit in particular is really well loved overall. It has a great adventure story and there's some lovely, lovely characters in here. And most people, if you like fantasy and you're interested in classics, would really enjoy The Hobbit, if you haven't read it already. Everyone's read The Hobbit almost.
Yeah. My first recommendation that I am choosing, and I don't know exactly where it is in this book because this is a collection, but it is... It happens to be the very last book, or story in this collection, and it is The Call of the Wild by Jack London. This is one of the most fun stories I've read because it takes place in Alaska, so I instantly have that connection. It was really well told. You felt for the characters, and it just overall was just a really great story and super easy to read.
The next book I'm recommending is A Connecticut Yankee at King Arthur's Court by Mark Twain. A lot of Mark Twain's books were in my mind when I was thinking about recommendations. Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer, both excellent, excellent reads, and I almost chose those, but I ended up going with this because it takes a person who's coming from our world a little bit more. It's obviously written to 1900s, so it's not the world we know anymore. At the time it was written, it was a little fantasy in that it was coming from our world and being put into the past, even, it's not fantasy. Being put further into the past, watching a Connecticut Yankee get established in King Arthur's court and how he influenced and affected that. This story was interesting to read prose-wise, but overall it was really, really endearing, and there was a lot of neat things to read about it.
My next recommendation is The Scarlet Pimpernel by Baroness Orczy. This is a book that I read and loved because of the mystery aspect of it. Well, I didn't read it because of the mystery aspect. I read it and loved it because of the mystery aspect. It's full of disguises and trickery and just cleverness, and that's something that I really enjoy seeing in books, especially when it's done well, and I thought this one was done really well.
So the next book I chose is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. So there's a couple different Charles Dickens books that we thought about recommending, but I ended up going with A Christmas Carol. This is a traditionally well-known story, at least it was in our family. We watched a different film adaptation of A Christmas Carol every year, or several every single Christmas. So I know the story well. It's a really short read, and it's well worth the time. It's a fantastic story, and it's so short. Yeah, I recommend A Christmas Carol, especially if you're looking for a holiday read, something that's not going to hold you down for too long. A lot of times someone will recommend something around holiday season and it takes you over and past the holiday season to get through it. But hey, you could read this all on Christmas Day if you wanted to.
So, sticking in the theme of short books, and this should be no surprise, but The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. We both read this and loved it. It was very interesting in that we were told it was supposed to be boring. Well, we weren't told that. We had heard that it was boring. And it was just, there's so much in it that when we read it, we were just blown away by the descriptiveness of it, the perseverance of the character. There was so much that was showed through this book that was absolutely amazing, and it's super short and super easy to read.
Yeah, this is an advertisement for all these authors. If they were alive, they should be thanking us. Which, yeah. Jack London? No, I'm pretty sure he's dead too.
Yep.
I think everybody's dead.
Unfortunately, Tolkien's dead too.
Even so is Robert Louis Stevenson.
Anyways.
And his son. The next book I'm recommending is Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. Also a story that's traditionally well known. People tend to have an idea of what Treasure Island is. It's very iconic, and it's a really, really enjoyable book, especially for a younger audience. There's a lot of, it's pirate-esque, there's treasure, there's a map, there's the black spot, which is, I think, partially known so well due to Treasure Island. There's treasure. It follows a young boy as the main character, and so it appeals to a younger audience, I think, in that sense. And it's overall just a really well-loved family story that I would recommend to just about anyone, especially if you have a little bit of a taste for adventure. Not how they taste.
And the last book that I am going to recommend is The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood by Howard Pyle. I don't remember exactly what I loved about this book, except that it was Robin Hood and it was really well done Robin Hood. I think this is one of the kind of originals for the Robin Hood tellings, and it works so well. You get to meet all these characters, you get to see all the adventures of them, but it doesn't shy away from the darkness that was happening at that time in England. So it's just a really good read and very enjoyable, and I wanted to recommend a Robin Hood book.
Thank you all for watching an Erudite adventure. I hope some of these recommendations were helpful to you and will spark your classic reading maybe once again or for the first time.